Sony A7 IV, Sony A7S III, Sony A7 R4, Sony A9 Mark II, Sony A1. Are you getting a little bit confused about which Sony camera is right for you? If you are, then you've came to the right place. Recently, I had a friend of mine asking if I had a Sony Camera Buyers guide, and I thought, no, but I should. So this is what this video is about. I'm basically just going to be giving you an overview of kind of what the different numbers and letters mean. I will go into a little bit of detail, but in general, this video is designed to be a compass, so you at least know the right direction that you should start in. That being said, I have linked all these cameras down below with affiliate links, so if you do decide to buy one of these cameras, it would help me greatly if you use some of the links down below. But without further ado, we have the Sony A7 IV. So the Sony A7 IV is designed to be Sony's hybrid camera. It's designed to give you very good video specs along with very good photography specs, but it doesn't necessarily specialize in either one of those. It is the entry-level camera, at least in the full frame market, but it still comes in at $2,500, which is quite a price tag. This does have a 33 megapixel sensor, meaning you can get very detailed stills along with 4K up to 30 frames per second. It is downsampled from 7K, meaning you get the sharpest and most crisp 4K that Sony has to offer. This also has some great video features such as animal IAF and video, which has yet to translate up to their higher end cameras. You can also get some decent semi-slow-mo 4K footage at 4K 60 with the caveat that it has a crop. But if you're the type of person who thinks you'll be using your camera equally for video and photography, then this is the camera for you. If you're thinking that $2,500 is a pretty steep price for an entry-level camera, there is the last generation model, the Sony A7 III. It is still a very good, solid camera, and I believe is the most popular camera that Sony has ever made to date. You can still get the dual card slots, meaning you can still use it at professional shoots and live events such as weddings. Now, while it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the newer version, it will save you about $500, and it usually comes in right around $2,000, but sometimes you can get a deal even bringing it down to $1,900. But if that still seems a little steep, there is the Sony A7C. It comes in at $1,800, and essentially it is the exact same camera as the A7 III, but it does have one card slot, meaning that it's probably not best to use for live events. But the benefits of this camera is it's a little bit more sleek and discreet, meaning a lot of people like it for more travel and street photography. Now, going up the ladder to some of Sony's more expensive and specialty cameras, we have the Sony A7 IV. The Sony A7 IV is Sony's more photography-centric camera. It comes in with a massive 61 megapixel sensor, making it great for high-end professional portrait photography, along with landscapes. But with the higher megapixel, more niched camera, it does come with a higher price tag, in at $3,500. Now, even though the A7 IV is directed more towards photographers, you can still get good video out of it as well, but it just doesn't specialize in it. Now, on the opposite side, we have the Sony A7S III. This camera is Sony's more video-centric camera. You can still take good stills as well, but you're taking it at 12 megapixels. You're not gonna get the most detailed out of it, and you're not gonna be able to crop too much in. But where it lacks in photography, it more than makes up for it in the video department. This offers you a 4K at up to 120 frames per second, meaning that you can get very butter smooth slow motion video out of this camera. It also has some of the highest bit rates that you can get out of any of the Sony cameras. You can get 10-bit 422 all-I all the way up to that 4K 120, and what that allows you to do is move around the colors and do some of the things in post that a lot of creatives like to do. Also, with all the different bit rates and slow-mo 4K footage, you get Sony's low light king, meaning that this can be used in very low light conditions with minimal noise. So if you're a person that likes to, say, go to caves, or maybe will be filming in fairly low light conditions, up to a point, every camera has some noise, but this camera, what it can do is pretty amazing. The Sony A7S III is my personal go-to video camera, and it's what I'm shooting on right now. Now, moving up the ladder even further, we have the Sony A9 Mark II. The Sony A9 Mark II is Sony's professional sports and wildlife photography camera. It is a very fast camera, and it also has a 24 megapixel stacked sensor, meaning that you will get very minimal rolling shutter for for very fast moving objects. This will shoot a mind-numbing 20 frames per second in electronic shutter mode, so it's perfect if you're somebody who's maybe shooting bird photography and wants to catch a bird mid-flight. Now, some of the downsides about this camera is it's really not made for video. Even though you can shoot 4K, it doesn't have all the different color profiles that maybe you would use if you want to shoot more professional video. This is a very niche camera and it's made for a very high-end consumer. The other potential downside of this camera, and I actually failed to mention, is also a downside of the Sony A7 IV, is this camera is very due for a refresh, meaning a new version of this camera may be due to come out at the end of this year. Now, moving up the ladder till you get to know other cameras besides the Sony A1. The Sony A1 is Sony's master of all cameras. It has a 50 megapixel sensor that shoots up to 30 frames per second, meaning it is a very high megapixel sensor that is very fast as well. It also has a stacked sensor, meaning that you will get very minimal to pretty much no rolling shutter, making it a perfect wildlife and sports photography camera. But unlike the A9, this also has great video functions, meaning that you can get 8K video that's downsampled from 8.6K, and it also has all the different color profiles that you would expect out of a professional video camera. Generally speaking, the Sony A1 is considered to be the best of the best of what Sony can offer, and that's why it's considered Sony's flagship camera, but it does come with a hefty flagship price at $6,500. But with the Sony A1, that concludes my Sony mirrorless buying guide. I do recommend before buying any one of these cameras to do even more research, and please come back and click on my affiliate link when you do decide to buy it. But I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and if you did, be sure to give it a like and consider subscribing, and until next time, peace.